Waiters, what Valentine Day disasters have you witnessed? He proposed. She said no. He cried and tried to change her mind for 20 minutes while she sat there stony faced. She finally got up and walked out. He paid and left in tears. Why are there so many people proposing to people they've not discussed marriage with before? It blows my mind. Exactly. The answer to her proposal should never be a surprise. She said yes. I knew she'd say yes. I know she wanted to marry the frick out of me because we talked about this. It should never be like, well, give it a go, because I feel like we should, and maybe she thinks so as well. A 16-year-old boy proposed to a 15-year-old girl with a cheap ring and the whipped cream of her dessert. She said yes. So romance isn't quite dead yet. Busboy on Las Vegas Strip. An attempted proposal. Dude tries to set up sign with GF's friends for her to show up and see the ring near a fountain. Duck stole the ring. They found it 2 hours later as he dropped in the fountain. She still said yes. Free drinks were given. Back when I served food at one of those super touristy seafood restaurants, I worked a Valentine's Day double shift. For lunch, this younger couple came in celebrating their 1-year anniversary. I offer my congratulations and proceed to do my usual spiel before taking orders. The girl is looking more and more dismayed the longer I talk. Finally I get to the end and ask if there are any allergies. She looks directly at her boyfriend and states, "Yes, I'm allergic to fish and shellfish," then looks over at me very sad. I made sure every aspect of her meal was fine for her. But it was that look of we've been dating a year and he still takes me to a restaurant that could kill me that really did it for me. That reminds me when my parents got me a huge strawberry filled cake with strawberries on it for my 25th birthday. I'm deathly allergic to strawberries. So, did they have a life insurance policy on you or something? 25 is the last year a lot of insurance plans cover your kids. I'm sure that's just a coincidence though. I was working as a waitress in a sushi restaurant and Valentine's Day was an all hands on deck shift. This guy I had just started seeing wanted to go out, but I told him that working in food service, you never get Valentine's Day off and we just have to celebrate the day after or the weekend after. Nope. He got so upset that he went and asked a different girl out, came to the restaurant I worked at on the day and sat in my section. He then proceeded to spend the entire evening making a fool out of himself and making his date uncomfortable as he tried to make me jealous. Needless to say, we didn't go out again. Ever. If he had surprised you at work and brought a couple friends that didn't have dates for dinner so that he could still see you on Valentine's Day, he'd have earned a million points. But nope. Not only did he get mad over something stupid, he blew it with 2 women at once. Honestly, I'm kinda freaking impressed. That's an K obviously. Insane level of confidence. Totally. When I first saw him getting seated by the hostess I thought he was coming to surprise me and I thought it was so sweet. Then the awful reality slowly dawned on me. My coworkers were just as livid once they realized what was going on. Jesus. May I ask how old he was? We were both in our early 20s. Not really much of a disaster, but last year my work called me up. "Hey buddy, we know you're single, can you come in as an extra shift tonight?" "No, I have a date with your wife." 2 failed marriage proposals on the same Valentine's Day. The first one simply said no, I can't do this, and walked out. The second one stared like a deer frozen in the headlights for an excruciating 30 seconds before muttering, "Let's talk about this later." They stayed for the rest of their 6-course V-Day special dinner, eating and making painful small talk. If you aren't 100% certain the person will say yes, then your relationship is nowhere near a point where getting engaged is an option. And definitely not ready for a proposal in a public setting. Saw a couple have a full-on argument at a restaurant. I wasn't their server, but the table was directly in the center of the restaurant and they were certainly loud enough for everyone to hear. My manager kindly asked them to leave and the guy's response was to yell, "I've been wanting to do that for 2 years now," and stormed out. I walked up to a table and was about to drop off the bill, caught the end of "It's over." Guy looked at me dead in the eye and said to split that frickin' check, right now. Someone showing up for a date and you both realize about 30 minutes and she ain't coming. Drinks on me, buddy. Not a total disaster, but still not good. Had a table of 2 people, probably in their mid-40s last year. Took 45 minutes for this couple to get their entrees due to our kitchen being way too slammed. When they were dropped at the table, they immediately asked for to-go boxes, because they told their babysitter they'd be home by a certain time. I overheard the wife say, "Well, I guess this is why we don't celebrate Valentine's Day." The worst part was that they weren't angry, just very sad. My personal feelings about dining out on Valentine's Day aside, I felt so horrible that this couple clearly had put in an effort to have a nice night with each other only to have it go that way. We comped their meals. By the way, that's sad. I bet they planned for a while to get the time and probably haven't had a date in a while. Happened to my pool co-worker. A guy and his date came in for Valentine's Day. They had a great time, ate a lot of food, drank a lot of wine, and got along really well with my co-worker who was their server. About 2 months later they come back in and request my co-worker again, who happily says yes to serving them. He goes up and greets them. The guy introduces his wife to him, and my co-worker mentions something about how much he enjoyed serving them on Valentine's Day. They go quiet. Wife gets up and leaves. Guy just lowers his head. Turns out he had brought his mistress in on Valentine's Day, but my co-worker didn't realize he was with a different woman this time around, so didn't think anything of it. We never saw the guy again. Guy was a pose for cheating obviously, but also what an idiot to request the server he had while with the other woman. Dude took a test drive with the mistress and decided the server was good enough for the wife. Okay, that's just pool planning on the guy's part. Why would you ask for the same waiter? Why did the husband request the same waiter? That's just stupid on his part. Not really a disaster, but this guy came in and said he was waiting for his date. He stayed for 5 hours waiting and she never showed. He eventually ordered for himself and asked that I remove the other glass of water from the table. He said it was their first date. Damn, why would you wait for 5 hours? I'm out of there after 30 minutes. Same. Half an hour. No show. Not wasting any more time. I'd wait an hour. She could be on daylight saving time. You laugh, but this actually happened to me. Thought I got stood up for the first time by an American girl. Turns out we had just switched to summertime in France. She didn't know. His dating profile said he was an eternal optimist. She was watching from another table to see if it was true. Was a server at a popular seafood chain that isn't very fancy, but when you live in a town like the one I worked in, that sort of place is the nicest place to go for Valentine's Day. Well, the night was incredibly busy when a couple came in. They were upset after waiting 45 minutes for a table, and they were complaining quite a lot. The woman was decked out in a super nice dress and faux fur coat that was actually very realistic. Well, she was sat and served her frozen drink. She goes to lift the glass to her mouth, and inexplicably, the bottom of the cup simply breaks and the drink is spilled all over her dress and nice coat. Was unfortunate. Frozen drink plus hot glass equals no bueno. It was like a movie. I was bartending at an Italian restaurant, not a fancy one, but still, and it's pretty much full of Valentine's dates. A guy walks in and sits at the bar by himself, looking pretty down. He asked for a whiskey, so I poured it, told him it was on the house, because he looked like he needed it. He proceeds to tell me his story. He had come to the city to surprise his girlfriend for Valentine's. About a 5-hour bus trip between cities, and he sure surprised her. She was in her dorm room fricking one of his friends from high school. He didn't know what to do, so he just walked into the first place that sold alcohol. I spilled as much whiskey as he wanted and watched the Raptors with him. Never saw him again. It's cliche, but it happened. Cliches become cliches for a reason. I know we have the benefit of hindsight, but I can't help feeling like it's a terrible idea to have a fair on Valentine's Day in a place where your so could conceivably find you, even if they live 5 hours away. To be fair, she lived on campus, so probably first year. Teenagers aren't the best at foresight and subtlety in my experience. Still a pretty terrible idea though. I saw a couple have a full-blown argument in the middle of the restaurant. The woman stood up, took her ring off, threw it at him and walked out. The man continued his meal, had dessert and then paid the bill, left a pretty big tip for the inconvenience and left. I've done this once. We were having a drink and I don't even remember what I said. My boyfriend got really pissed and just walked away. Not a big loud argument, but there was a bit of cutting remarks. After he left, I slowly finished my drink and left. 15 minutes after him. I didn't want people to figure out that he left me there like an idiot, so I just tried to act normal. Plus there wasn't a single chance that I was going to run after him. I was once having dinner with my then girlfriend. She was in the middle of a scholarship application process, and mid-dinner she received a phone call. She had to hand in some papers before an office closed that day. She apologized and ran to her house to get the papers. I stayed, finished my dinner and asked for takeaway for her. When the waitress brought me the bill, she gave a piece of cake, saying her manager was sorry for me. I took the cake home and shared it with my girlfriend. It wasn't disastrous for the couple as much as it was the restaurant. I used to work at a small southeastern franchise restaurant. It wasn't anything you could mistake for upscale. We had someone call in and ask if we could fry the ring he was planning to propose within a hush puppy. Extremely weird request, but we said sure. They come in to eat with their families. She gets her order of hush puppies, doesn't choke on the ring and seems excited enough. Stayed at the table for about 2 hours total and chatted. They dined and dashed. Whoa, the nerve of some people.